I would imagine there's been quite a bit of change in the group among you guys personally in the last 4 or 5 years since first coming here. I mean, what have been the major changes?
Personally?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
Well, like for example, I mean, you're no longer just operating out of Australia. I mean, now you're an international act. So I guess
I see.
A lot more travel.
Yeah, we've done a lot of touring, and I think the touring that we've done has really been a great experience, just a learning process, and also it's been good for our career. I think how it affects us all personally, I don't know. I think we just get better as musicians, probably more we learn more, and with all these experiences, put them to use and make the group sound better, really, I think. And same with our recording career. We've learned a lot too since we've become an international act, I think. There's a lot more people to consider, as far as not so much when you're actually writing, but when you go to release it and it's all there, and this is what you're going to give to people if they're interested enough to buy it, then there's a certain responsibility to all that, how you want yourself to come across, and how what you're saying or what you're putting over. That's about it on that one, I think.
One thing that impressed me from the very beginning was you seemed to be a band with your vision set outward outside of Australia. I mean, coming here so early to do I Send a Message and Original Sin, those 2 videos.
Yeah, we've never been a band to sit around and twiddle our thumbs for too long about anything, whether we make mistakes doing things while we jump in or whether it's beneficial. On the whole, it's been beneficial, obviously, but being an Australian pub group to start with, it gives you a unique perspective on things.
Aren't all Australian fans pub fans? I mean,
yeah, well, yeah, basically, you're right. Being an Australian group, then, and one of the perspectives is that it's a long way to New York, or London, or Japan, or even, and so you're taking a lot into your hands to leave, to go, and it's very expensive, and it's certainly you have to spend a long time away from your loved ones and home and everything. So, I suppose it takes a lot of guts, basically, to be honest, and to maintain that belief is one of the hardest things. I mean, we last time we were here was 4 years ago. In that 4 years, we've actually survived the time period and stuck to our guns, and it's worked,
Actually, I remember back then you had come here once in early '84,
yeah,
and then you came back right again.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had wanted to concentrate on the Japanese.
Yeah, well, it's close to Australia, and it should be that way,
It's not that close. I mean, it's 8 or 9 hour flights.
Yeah, it's closer than London. Because people have always been taken off to London for years and years, and just forgetting about Tokyo. There are reasons why. I mean, it's a very strange market, to call it a market. It is, you can't just come here and do the tracks.
Actually, I'd say Mike was right. I mean, have you done a lot of flying yourself around the world? Have you? Right. Well, then I guess if you'd flown out of Australia as many times as we had, I think Mike was right. Physically, right. And also it's a lot less wear and tear on anyone that does travel for a living. Anyone, doesn't matter what they do, whether they're a musician or not, knows that living out of a suitcase takes a hell of a demand out of your body. In fact, I was talking to a man last night about the fact that he's been since 1950, working and living out of a suitcase, for say 9 months of the year. Now, I think as much as I admire him, I think he's crazy as well in some ways, because it's just too much of one thing. Really, you need it's the same as if a person has worked their way up in a company and they've been an executive and what's that Albert Brooks movie, Lost in America?
Yeah, right.
You've seen that where the guy works all his life and then his girl goes up to Las Vegas and the wife and loses the nest egg and then they, so because they were unhappy with their lives because they felt that they weren't achieving or they hadn't got any promotions that they really deserved or something, So I think we all have a little griefs and bitches and problems and everything, but I think I think if you're successful and you're happy with what you're doing, just keep doing it. Yeah.
One thing you noted about the concert, I guess you saw it 2 nights ago, I didn't, was that you took sort of a ramrod approach. It's like kind of 100% power from the very beginning until the very end. Until it's about 110%. It's like there's no real peaks or valleys.
Oh, there's a couple, but yeah, you're right.
Maybe that's the approach you've taken to the
We hadn't played for about 4 or 5 days, so probably get back into it. But, last night was a bit more subdued, but I don't know. That's the way we do it. There's beneficial ways of doing, beneficial ways of conducting yourself on stage either way. And then lately, I was talking to Mr. Pop the other day, and
Who?
Mr. Pop.
Mr. Pop.
Iggy Pop.
Oh, okay.
And he was saying we were both agreeing on the fact that it's so hard. And one thing, and he's like 42 or something. What he's been trying to learn for years to try and stand still. And he said, we both looked at each other. Yeah, it's the hard for some singers, for instance. It's the hardest thing to do. Is to
to restrain yourself.
Restrain yourself, and it's very powerful. It's very powerful to stop. And it's one of the hardest things to do because you just got. That's why you got into music in the first place, because it just moves you. And you music starts, and that's what happens.
You start grooving, and where am
I? And suddenly you
feel
put
like
on top of a speaker stack, and don't know how you got there, and wondering how you're going to get down now. And that's kind of it's funny, it's because we are a pretty natural band. We don't have choreographers. We don't spend 6 months dancing in a backlot of Hollywood getting our show together. With mirrors in front of us, We're not Vegas, and we're not even closely resembling it. And and we don't do the hair lyrics pants thing, and lead solos and everything. So we're sort of we're pretty straightforward. As you notice, we don't have a mega production. We don't do all those sort of normal things that people rely on. We just rely on 6 people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are you naturally hyperactive?
Not really. I'm pretty
sedate.
I think.
Naturally hyperactive.
Naturally, jumpy.
That's fine.
I don't know. To be perfectly honest, you're the most hyperactive person I've seen today.
Yeah, really. Well, that's good to know. So, in real life, you guys are all pretty quiet then. The ramrod.
Yeah, I don't usually even do interviews because I find it's all very sort of strange. But people often don't want to know about music; they want to know about everything else but music.
Well, that's we already know about your music. We want to find out everything else now.
Right, what is there to know?
No, come on, I want to know what makes you guys tick.
Tick.
That's right.
Yeah.
Seiko. Rolex.
What makes us tick?
Do you actually live in Hong Kong, Michael?
Yeah.
Really? Whenever you're
for about 3 years.
Whenever you're off the road, you're in Hong Kong.
There or somewhere else. I like to travel a lot, so it's a good base.
Well, why Hong Kong?
Just a good base. I grew up there, so my
Was
dad
that
was. It was just all kinds of circumstances that led to me moving there. One of the things that for any of us, we don't really live anywhere in a sense. We managed to grab a few months at a so-called home, the last couple of years, a year, And, so to me, I opted for the, I'll just put the old home in a basket for a while, instead of having to have that emotional thing, of wanting to be back there. So I don't really have anywhere, apart from a little flat in Hong Kong. So, I enjoy that because I like to travel and stuff, and Andrew has a really nice place in Sydney, and so I envy that too. So I'll get around to growing roses and things like that one day. That sounds really nice.
I don't have any roses yet.
You do. I've seen a rose.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
No, I'd love to. I have dreams of. I'm into gardening. I love gardens. You know, I don't have one, but maybe I should just get a garden and go and stand in it. Or something.
yeah. I mean, I must admit though, it's good to. It's great to that feeling of going home. I mean, I don't know about yourself. Do you live here?
Yeah,
all?
I live here.
Yeah. Do you go back to the States or
Rarely.
Canada or
Rarely.
whatever? Yeah. Right. And so, what how does it feel to go home? Do you not enjoy it? Or do you?
I'm alienated, disoriented.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how we
To go to the States.
Yeah.
Because you live here. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, that's sort of in a way, I think sometimes perhaps how we feel.
Do you feel out of place when you go back to Australia, though?
Not really out of place. It's just that
Disoriented.
perhaps a bit disoriented, and then after a while you sort of feel like, oh, that's right, you know. But most of the time it's pretty.
That's why after this tour we're gonna take at least a long time off from touring, and so we can I mean we work very hard, and that's why we've done well. I think one of the biggest reasons that we just do work hard. We do say, okay, we'll go here, and it takes an enormous toll on your personal life. But the payoff is that we can sit around for a couple of years now and do what the hell we like.
Yeah. Well, especially after the success, but you don't feel compelled to sustain it by somehow staying in the spotlight.
Well, we'll sustain it. We're just
Yeah.
in different ways than incessantly touring our asses off.
That's right. I mean, also sustaining. Let's talk about sustaining something. I was reading with great amusement and jealousy an article last time about Pink Floyd, where this is a band that you don't even know what they look like, but you can go off the road for 7 years and they're still Pink Floyd. And I mean,
That's art. That is
right.
very.
And so what are we talking
That's
about?
our next phase.
We're not race horses. We're human beings, and if you feel like stopping doing something, no, you don't have to do it. And if it means that people decide they don't like the band anymore, well, what did they like in the first place? That's how I look at it. So if we go off the road and people stop liking the band, well, maybe it's the way I look at it is I think, well,
they will.
okay. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying how you're supposed to look at it. Who knows what's going to happen to you tomorrow? You might not be here. So it's just enjoy it all while you can.
Well, we've got the reason why it's through working like that. We have got ourselves to a position where we are. INXS does live just in people's heads without having to do anything. From now on, we can. It's a whole new. It's a whole new way of conducting the band. Where we don't have to be down the corner every week. Or every couple of months.
Yeah, I mean
It's a challenge.
We've put in an enormous amount of live work, and I think one of your first questions before you were asking us about, and Mike was saying we were a pub band, and I thought you said aren't all Australian bands pub bands. Well, I'd like to add to that. I think now they're not. In the old days, they had to be simply to get a recording contract, and we come from that school of people, so we actually built the band not from a formula, but being a live performers. So now I don't ever think that there's a question of can we play live, will we still be able to cut it when we come back? Of course we will, because that was where I came from, the whole band came from, that way of thinking. We didn't say we're going to make a band that all does this and we fit into this category and we're going to do this and do that. It was just wasn't the way it came together originally. So I don't know. I think if it's a matter of time, I don't think the time is really the thing that matters. It's what we do when we come back. I think that's more important. Really.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be spending a lot more quality time, as they call it, with our own lives, so that and so we can spend more time with albums and writing, and, being sort of like doing a complete circle in a way back to sort of like where we were at. We were still in high school, and we'd have weekends to get together and muck around a bit, have some fun, and play a few songs, and it's interesting that you do go that full circle. I mean, at least I hope we can.
Yeah, I see absolutely no reason why not.
I don't know if this is a viable observation or not, but one of the things you had to say was you tend to polarize people, music listeners. They either love you or they hate you. Would you agree?
Yeah, I guess.
Or does that apply to everybody?
I think that's a good thing. I don't think I'd rather people love us or hate us. I think those that hate us don't know us generally. Generally hate comes out of ignorance. But we've had all kinds of phases with the way people think of us over the years. You know, I mean, in fact, we've gone from a situation where, say, in England, where we were definitely hated, and it was really funny. And
there's actually a little thing about how NME gave you
Yeah.
like a 0 out of a
Yeah.
scale of 100.
yeah, and now they like ring us up and they like us and.
Now they like you. They're back.
Sure, we're hip, almost, you know, it's like a very funny situation. So, it just goes to show, you know, you just have to keep at something and ignore the world. And, you know, just, you know, that's what we've been doing. We've just been doing what we wanted to do. So.
Do you think that like applies to anybody, or is that just an
It should, I think it should apply. I mean, you know,
I mean,
what,
in terms of polarizing films.
oh, you mean like,
Level hate. No, I think there's a lot of artists out there, and that's what's wrong with music. A lot of music is that they don't have the integrity to be hated. You know, they'd much rather be peanut butter and spread themselves across everybody's toast and make everybody happy. You know, and that really is the way it is. You know, rock and roll. Its beginnings were out of hate. The whole fact that your parents didn't like it is the reason why kids loved it. You know, and now it's diluted down to, you know, your best friend hates it and you love it, and you love it and they hate it, and you know, there's no such thing as a musical generation gap. You know, for people under 40 almost, it's quite wide. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why you get a lot of crap on the radio. It's nothing to do with that hardness. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the way that sounds, it sounds like the Olympics, doesn't it now? You've got all these people competing for gold medals, and it's all a bit silly, really. It's just music. You know?
Yeah. I think there's room for everybody, you know. I'm not a hater of myself much. I mean, I'm not. I don't think it's probably an Australian trait, isn't it? Where, you know, it's like Australians have great trash ethic. You know, I love ABBA. You know, ABBA's really big in Australia. Still, hip bands play ABBA in the pubs of Sydney. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, we have a sense of humour about things. It's not so. In England, it's like, God, you know, it's just ridiculous. They take it so fucking seriously.
Well, the English have sort of a nasty streak in them as well.
Well, it's one of their few commodities they make. It's music, so I guess they have to be very serious about it.
I better get some of these questions here. I'm going to get in trouble. Sex symbol. Are you seen as a sex symbol?
Right, I know. Well, I've been living with this problem for a long time, and I've just come to terms with it recently, and I decided to avoid all, you know, allegations.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I mean, the first time I saw you here, I was prepared to see like a good live act, and I found myself surrounded by about 95% prepubescent girls screaming their asses off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we usually have a bin that they collect them on the way out of the concert, and they put them back on. And, they leave quietly with no fuss, no bother.
You're not going to tell me this is something that's limited to Japan, right?
Not entirely. In America, we have a pretty wide audience now. We've found that the less we've been to a place, the younger the audience is. And see, the way the band is, it's kind of a problem, but it's a good thing where we get perceived. Years ago, especially in the Duran Duran period and all that, there was a big era of pop idols, you know, and that's really kind of disappeared a lot now.
We call it the early days of MTV.
Yeah, and all that, you know, and if you got, there was this excitement, you know, and it was a hysteria, and you know who does hysteria best? Like, young girls are very good at it, and so young girls tend to jump on bandwagons, you know, like, they'll just jump. If they think you're happy, it's mass, you know, it goes nuts. And then after a while, so people get scared of it, you know, adults or older people. And I think if you went along to our shows in the States now, you'd see a totally different picture.
Well, he noted there were a lot more guys this time around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, also, this is the problem with this screaming sort of mass hysterical young women. trying to compete with 25-year-old bodybuilders, trying to get their way down the front now. It's a bit of a problem, because they just can't compete.
No, we've got a lot of guys down the front.
And so it's an interesting thing. I mean, also there's other walks of life. There's there as well at the concerts now.
Yeah, there's older people and all kinds of people. Really, basically, it's just that there's a sort of catch-up period. I'm always surprised because I think we're pretty rough compared to a lot of pop groups.
No, definitely. I mean, it's definitely.
And it's always been a bit perplexing to us.
Uh-huh.
We can't really relate. You sort of look at them and go, "What?
Yeah.
What are you seeing here?"
Uh-huh.
And maybe it's just that we have a pretty hip young girl audience, I think, in a way.
Yeah.
They are, guys, especially in Europe. It's like these German 13-year-olds with hair out like this and black makeup on. So they're not your average teeny boppers.
But isn't it indicative of a whole, 3, 4, 5 generations of people like that?
Mm-hmm.
I thought Frank Sinatra went through that.
Yeah.
I thought Tom Jones went through that. I thought the Beatles went through that. Led Zeppelin went through that. So the fact that we even go through that, I think it's sort of
it's good.
It's amazing.
I think it's absolutely. We don't have any problems with. It's just funny to relate to at times, but it's. I don't have any less respect for that audience than I do for anybody else.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's great. I'd rather have fertile minds in front of us than people who just want you to do the same thing as the last tour.
We put you in box A.
Play that song.
Wait, you wanted a question about the music. Do you listen much to the older stuff?
Older stuff?
Yeah, the older stuff.
Of our
Yeah,
material.
yeah.
In fact, we were just talking yesterday. One of the interviewers that we had a selection of 4 of our albums, and they were asking us what we thought of the album, and I thought that was interesting because you often forget you're busy thinking about what's happening now today, not what happened 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 years ago, even. And when you're confronted with it, you go, oh, that's right, that's what I was doing, And also music triggers times or memories in people's life. It's a sentimental thing. You think back to a piece of music you loved when you're a kid, and you hear it and you go, hey, I was doing this and I was doing that. And well, to me, that's how, again, I think a lot of our older material too. I relate that to part of my life, not just my career, where I was doing this and I was going through that, or, and I was there and
Right.
and someone else was there. And
You don't just exist because a record came out.
Yeah,
It's the other way around.
Right, exactly.
It's a sentimental thing sometimes too.
What I wanted to ask you is it's hard to be objective about your own stuff, but comparing the older stuff with the stuff now, how do you think you've evolved? What are the main changes in your style?
Slightly lower cranium, jawbones come forward a bit, and
Right, exactly.
and basically we're doing pretty well. But musically, I think the band's probably a little bit more confident, which success has helped with as well. Instead of thinking, will they like the record? You're sitting there going, they love the record, So therefore,
That's a weird. In fact, that's been a weird thing to deal with because you actually have to go. You have to come to terms that you are successful, and that can be a strange thing, to actually go. Let all your defences down for once and go, yeah, this is great, that's good. And that it's like a psychological barrier to get through, and to be on stage and sort of just smile and stand there and go, hey, this is great, it's one big thing. It's not just us trying to, it's everybody involved in it. Everybody's digging it, And that's where it's at. That's great.
Could it be easier being in a band because, if things start to sour, it's like, well, Michael's writing lousy lyrics. He says, well, no.
It is, but I think we're allowed. We don't have a situation of, it's not that arbitrary. We don't sort of. It's not a board of directors meeting, and where's the product, But I think we're lucky that we can do what the hell we like, basically. I mean, Kick started off with a lot of pressure on us from Listen Like Thieves, and we actually just kicked that right out the window, literally, and that's sort of in a way why the end of the album ended up getting called Kid. And it's like, it's strange enough, we thought it was fairly indulgent in a good sense album. And something like Need You to Know, it's number one. We Need You to Know, so this groove thing there, which, yeah, great, this is really good.
It's very uncomplicated, that song.
And just took, seconds to put together almost, and, bang, out it went, and I think it was a good, shining example of that you don't have to write what they call, commercial music. It's just music, and if it's good, it should rise to the top.
Yeah, I mean, that song, I remember putting that song together. I hope someone doesn't see some, intense musical genius in that song, because there's a lot of bullshit. In actual fact, what it was me fiddling around with some instruments, and there was a cab waiting outside for me to go on an international flight, and I'm going, look, just stay there and shut up, because I'm just doing something, all right? And I'm there fiddling around with bits of music, because I knew I liked what I was doing, but it must have taken 20 minutes to do that. And then later on, you find out, people love this song, it's a number one hit, and and I think, oh, gee.
Yeah, more cabs waiting.
That's right. I always had that sense of urgency.
Urgency, yeah, like a stupid thing, But, no, but I mean, taking it a bit more seriously, I mean, that's a pop song, too, so, perhaps its simplicity is its commerciality, I don't know, There's other songs that are intended to be perhaps, for want of a better word, a little bit intellectual, or a lot more thoughtful, deliberately, because that's what we want to give over, and they often take a lot more thought and insight really into why you're doing it too, But I don't know. I think say Mike and I's writing, if anything, is just getting better because it's getting easier. I don't really. In the past, it's been harder, really, because we weren't sure what exactly, say, people liked about the band, what they did or didn't like, and as a writer, that's hard too, because although it's also easier, it gets easier, I think, as time gets on. Yeah.
And what are these oblique lyrics, Michael? I mean,
Which one?
Like Devil Inside, Original Sin. It's
Yeah,
kind of hard to follow them. I mean, don't you get asked a lot of what exactly you mean by kick?
I like ambiguity in lyrics, I think, because it sets up, I think, in any it's like people say, what's, cave painting, what's that doing there? What is it? And it's part of the reason why it's there. It's, you've got to put it in make it up in your head as well, So, it's also a slight vagueness on my part. But, what's Devil Inside? I mean, Devil Inside is like, I think, my stock answer is that it's, kind of about, what's it about? It's an equalization, of everybody. Because at the time, because we were running around the States and seeing, false idols fall away constantly. Guys like, the multimedia religion.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, that's interesting. You have all these people who, they are. If you want to talk about religious Christianity, these people are obviously paying their dues now for what they've been reaping in the past. And that's sort of like what the song was about, I suppose. But, you can't look at. There's a certain naivety, I suppose, to it all, where people just think everybody's unscrupulous and everybody's, these people that are perfect, and that's wrong. You can't. That's what kind of wrecks it all, because you have to have that sort of soul charity.
Okay. There aren't that many big groups right now. Most of the big acts are solo. You guys must have the art of staying together down to a science. Is it because there are three brothers in the group?
I don't know. We don't really know many other bands to compare ourselves with.
But I mean, there aren't that many at the top, you know. There's like
No.
you two,
No, there's not.
You and
I agree.
There's a lot of solo performance,
Exactly,
I guess,
that's
you
what
know.
I'm saying.
We've gone back to
You know.
Tin Pan Alley, you know.
Well, you know, guy, let's put a song together for this guy because he's major, and you know.
Scott Woodham, Aikman, or whatever they're called.
Stockman.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
that is a classic 80s musical team, you know.
Yeah.
You get some bimbo and set them off, and, you know,
Oh,
they
it's
go,
absolutely true. Yeah.
and it works, you
Yeah,
know, it works,
Uh-huh.
and it makes money.
Uh-huh.
And that's what you want to do, be honest about it and go out and do it. I have nothing against that, you know. Especially the really obvious ones. I think that's cool because they're blatant about it.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit that's true. And also, I think what has helped us stay together is, you know, what I sort of can't understand as the older I get is, if a band, say, doesn't want to play together, it doesn't mean they necessarily don't like each other. They're probably tired, you know. It's got nothing to do with they don't have anything in common. They probably still have so much in common, it's ridiculous. I don't think these reasons, as I see these things as I get older, they don't mean as much, and the silly sort of rubbish they write about people for why people don't perform together. It's not true at all, and I think that, say, in our situation, in the band situation, I think it's in actual fact it's easier, I think, to be in a band because at least you've got other people who are in a similar situation who you can look at and reflect on your own life a bit more and say, where am I at? Whereas I often get the feeling, not that I've been in that situation, but I look at, say, solo acts that I know as friends, or I see them as a professional friend or a professional artist, just someone I don't know even, and see what, say, happens to them. A lot of them perhaps go up, say, they take a path off, you know, off a road that maybe they shouldn't have because they listen to people who maybe have different intentions or they can't have the reflection they need that you can get often in a group. It's like, actually, I've never understood why there aren't more groups because in some ways it's easier.
I think one of the reasons would have to be that the economics of music play such an important part now. You know, it's become a bigger business than the business world realised.
Yeah.
And they're all standing around going, whoa, you know, what is this thing? And it's much easier to take a person and convince them of something than it is to convince 6 guys. You know, that's the thing, you know, that one of the things that I'm really proud of with INXS is that we have, at first very slowly, but lately very strongly, have had a lot of control, you know, that, you know, we go out, we do our music, no one stands around the studio going, yeah, that's great, no, can that one, you know.
Yeah, pass the cigars.
You know, and we pay for our videos, we pay for our albums, and we give them to them, and they turn them into vinyl and cardboard and put them in shops, you know, and do it very well, and they commendably.
It's amazing how everybody knows his own place, though. It's like if this was the average band, you'd be scoring movies, you know, on your off time, and that would take you away from the band. You'd be off, and you know. Who knows
But
where.
we do have our own stuff. But I mean,
Yeah.
But it's not. See, that's where bands screw up. Is that they're so scared of each other's abilities that they stifle everybody. You know. And you've got, you know, one of the best things you can do is say, go off and make a solo album, have a bloody good time, and good luck, and great, get it all out of your system. You know.
Yeah, I tend. Yeah, that's right.
And then they have an experience that should be useful to the band. I made Dogs in Space was really useful for me. I was sitting around in rat-infested slums of Melbourne, being a punk, doing heroin while we went to number 5 in America with What You Need.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time of my life.
I was supposed to
Well,
ask
this
you-
is actually more fun. Wasn't actually doing heroin, but pretending well.
It's a controlled fun.
Controlled fun.
because you're going to be performing more in movies or any acting.
Sure. It's find a movie I like, sure. It's hard to find. There's some great movies around, but nobody will make them.
Uh-huh.
You know, Coca-Cola has its grips on movie land. You know?
I just want to add something here, even though it's nothing. Michael's movie stuff has really nothing to do with me. In a way, I think it's Mike should do as many movies as he possibly can. Because I want to say this because, say, our videos. You know, we just won some MTV awards. Our videos get better, say, with Michael's movie experience, and all these things. They help. They don't detract. That's what I don't understand with what you were saying. Say, movie soundtracks. If I spend, you know, I don't know, 5 years if I want to, working on some movie thing, you know, with people. If you go work together again with someone else, surely all those experiences you've gained are going to come in handy. It's not like, what have I been doing? I've been deliberately avoiding these people. It's nothing like that at all.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's when someone has to think that they have to secretly do something and whisk away, and and that sucks. You don't have to break a band up to let somebody do something.
Yeah, that's when it gets silly.
It's either that reason or ego. People like to be at their own funerals. Let's see the headlines.
I think I'm getting the warning here. Did you come up?
あと1問で終わりだね。
Time for one more question. Let me see if I've covered this.
ジョージ・マイケルの話って
してない。じゃあそれを最後に。A strange question, but George Michael once says that being focused in on by camera lenses all the time made him feel more feminine rather than masculine. And feel more like...
Oh, well, and I guess I shouldn't laugh because I'm not George Michael. I don't know. To me, it's like some bloke points a camera and a flashlight goes off and you go, geez, I can see little stars.
Okay, but I mean, that was just a rather interesting comment.
Yeah, that is interesting. I guess because female nature is tends to be it tends to be giving and outward, and I'm trying to search for the word. It tends to be decorative and appealing, and with women tend to write their own ticket when it comes to look at me, whereas men don't have that power. So yeah, I can understand that sensibility, but George Michael's probably always had that problem.
Should shave and go home, like Keith Richards said.
Okay, I think that pretty much covers that then. There's something to say.
じゃああと撮影お願いします。
Okay, I guess we'll get a few pics then.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Very
Thank
good,
you.
Very good. Well, last time I talked to you, you weren't in a very good mood at all.
No, I get like that.
Yeah, you were a little bit on that.
I'm a moody guy. I'm not always Mr. Nice.
That was your dark side of the moon period.
He's just a moody guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Dark side of
I'm a
the moon.
human being. Yeah. Yes. Okay, let's do some pictures.
Some real aggressive, angry pictures.
That's right. I would imagine there's been quite a bit of change in the group among you guys personally in the last 4 or 5 years since when first coming here. I mean, what have been the major changes?
Personally?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
Well, like for example, I mean, you're no longer just operating out of Australia. I mean, now you're an international act. So I guess
Oh, I see.
a lot more travel.
Yeah, we've done a lot of touring, and I think the touring that we've done has really been a great experience, just a learning process, and also it's been good for our career. I think how it affects us all personally, I don't know. I think we just get better as musicians, probably more we learn more, and with all these experiences, put them to use and make the group sound better, really, I think. And same with our recording career. We've learned a lot too since we've become an international act, I think. There's a lot more people to consider. Have you done a lot of flying yourself around the world? Have you? Right. Well, then I guess if you'd flown out of Australia as many times as we had, I think Mike was right. Physically,
right.
And also it's a lot less wear and tear on you. Anyone that does travel for a living, anyone, doesn't matter what they do, whether they're a musician or not, knows that living out of a suitcase takes a hell of a demand out of your body. In fact, I was talking to a man last night about the fact that he's been since 1950, working and living out of a suitcase, for say 9 months of the year. Now, I think, as much as I admire him, I think he's crazy as well in some ways, because it's just too much of one thing, really. You need it's the same as if a person has worked their way up in a company and they've been an executive and And what's that Albert Brooks movie, Lost in America?
Yeah, right.
You know, you've seen that where the guy works all his life, and then his girl goes up to Las Vegas, and the wife and loses a nest egg, and then because they were unhappy with their lives, because they felt that they weren't achieving, or they hadn't got any promotions that they really deserved, or something. So I think we all have a little griefs and bitches and problems and everything, but I think. I think if you're successful and you're happy with what you're doing, just keep doing it. Yeah.
One thing
In Japan, or even, and so you're taking a lot into your hands to leave, to go, and it's very expensive, and it's certainly you have to spend a long time away from your loved ones and home and everything. So I suppose it takes a lot of guts, basically, to be honest, and to maintain that belief is one of the hardest things. I mean, we last time we were here was 4 years ago. In that 4 years, we've actually survived the time period and stuck to our guns, and it's worked.
Actually, I remember back then you had come here once in early '84,
Yeah.
and then you came back right again.
Yeah.
Obviously, you wanted to concentrate on the Japanese.
Yeah, well, it's close to Australia, and it should
be that way,
It's not that close. I mean, it's 8 or 9 hour flights.
Yeah, it's closer than London. Because
people have always been taken off to London for years and years, and just forgetting about Tokyo. There are reasons why. I mean, it's a very strange market, to call it a market. It is. You can't just come here and do the traps.
Actually, I'd say Mark was right.
I learned about the concert. I guess you saw it 2 nights ago. I didn't. Was that you take sort of a ramrod approach? It's like kind of 100% power from the very beginning until the very end. Until it's about 110%. It's like there's no real peaks or valleys.
There's a couple, but yeah, you're right.
Maybe that's the approach you've taken to the
we hadn't played for about 4 or 5 days, so probably get back into it. But, last night was a bit more subdued, but I don't know. That's the way we do it. There's beneficial ways of doing, beneficial ways of conducting yourself on stage either way. Lately, I was talking to Mr. Pop the other day, and Mr. Pop.
Mr. Pop.
Iggy Pop. And he was saying we were both agreeing on the fact that it's so hard. And one thing, and he's like 42 or something. What he's been trying to learn for years to try and stand still. And he said, we both looked at each other. Yeah, it's the hard for some singers, for instance. It's the hardest thing to do. Is to
to restrain yourself.
Restrain yourself, and it's very powerful. It's very powerful to stop. And it's one of the hardest things to do because you just got. That's why you got into music in the first place, because it just moves.
As far as not so much when you're actually writing, but when you go to release it and it's all there, and this is what you're going to give to people if they're interested enough to buy it, then there's a certain responsibility to all that. How you want yourself to come across, and how what you're saying and what you're putting over. That's about it on that one, I think.
One thing that impressed me from the very beginning was you seemed to be a band with your vision set outward outside of Australia. I mean, coming here so early to do I Send a Message and Original Sin, those 2 videos.
Yeah, we've never been a band to sit around and twiddle our thumbs for too long about anything, whether we make mistakes doing things while we jump in or whether it's beneficial. On the whole, it's been beneficial, obviously, but being an Australian pub group to start with, it gives you a unique perspective on things.
Aren't all Australian fans pub fans?
Yeah, well, yeah, basically, you're right. Being an Australian group, then, and one of the perspectives is that it's a long way to New York, or London.